The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good morning.
Hello and welcome
to Spindle City Straight Talk.
And I'm on time.
Yes, we're actually we're getting off to a good start today, I guess.
Traffic's not as bad at this place on Friday, so.
Yeah, well, all the kids don't come in on Friday for anything.
Right.
Well, let's start off with a little bit of the local national news, I think. Deflate gate. What's your opinion of this, Chip? Because I have mine, and I know once I'm done saying it, I'm going to have to call security to escort me out of the building. So,
well, I try to think as little as possible about it because, regardless of what happened, both teams played with the same footballs. I mean, if they can prove that they gave underinflated footballs at times where an underinflated football would have given them an edge and didn't give the underinflated football to the other team, which I don't know how any referee could ever do that, then, but it's like complaining because of one team having to run 90 feet up the baseline in baseball. You both have to run 90 feet. So if the equipment isn't up to specifications, unfortunately, both teams have to play. So they both have the same advantages and disadvantages. So I think that it's much to do about nothing.
I agree with you in a sense that, it may be much ado about nothing, but we have to look at the fact that the Patriots have already once been found guilty of cheating. And I don't believe that a second accusation could be not able to be proven or should even be considered lightly. This is a national sport, okay? And people, especially in New England, take their Patriots very seriously. And I've had the pleasure to meet Mr. Kraft. I've had the pleasure to meet Tom Brady. I've had the pleasure to meet many members of the Patriots team. And I'll tell you now that, do I put cheating beyond anyone? No, I don't care who it is. But I firmly believe that if, as they've already found, that those balls were not properly inflated, then it's a definite problem. And this is a multi-billion dollar national conglomerate, for the lack of a better expression, the NFL. And they say, well, if they're found guilty, we'll hit them with a fine and they'll lose their first, choice draft pick. Who cares? It doesn't affect them at all. I mean, they've made it very clear. I think that the NFL, by the way, the NFL is a 501c3 corporation. They're nonprofit. So it goes to show you who can be nonprofit in this country, because they charge you $600 for a ticket. We have to say you have to hold these people to a higher standard. And it is not always the impropriety, it's the appearance of it that shakes the people's faith in it. But Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Englanders will not lose their faith in the Patriots or in Tom Brady, and that is for sure.
Well, it could be true. Whether it's proven, I'm sure that some fans will say as long as the Patriots did it, it's okay. But if anybody else did it, we would complain. But, it is what it is. You have to do it. As I said, it doesn't send out a good message that the team itself has been twice involved in allegations of wrongdoing or not playing fairly or trying to take an advantage. And you could also have the attitude that, hey, it's pro sports. Any advantage you can get, you try to get. And, some people have that attitude and say, great. But while we're on sports, I'm going to segue into something and say we can get some positive news and some positive news about Fall River. We have an individual who actually I know very well, and I knew his father, and his grandfather, and they were friends of our family. And his name is Peter Corey. Some of you may know him. He was a very, very good athlete in the Fall River area. He played in the Yankee farm system, I believe he made it up to Double-A, then he got injured and had to end his baseball career. Was always involved, as his father, Peter, Sr., was always at the Boys Club, the Fall River Boys Club, and very involved in exercise and fitness, and he chose that as a career. And he worked at it very, very diligently. Spent many hours with him at the Boys Club. And he ended up at the University of Alabama as an assistant baseball coach. And he's also the head of strength and conditioning at, I believe, at Shelton State College in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And ironically enough, that's the home of the new World Boxing Council heavyweight champ, Deontay Wilder. And in the post-fight press conference, he gave a shout-out to his strength and conditioning coach, Peter Corey. So isn't it great to say that something in Fall River is positive? We have a young man who educated himself, worked hard, and has become a head strength and training coach at at a major institution, a baseball coach, and is now the strength and conditioning coach of the heavyweight champion of the world. Now, I'd like to see that on the front page of the Herald News rather than the Aaron Hernandez trial. It says, things about the quality. Fall River does have quality people. They do have people who achieve things. And Peter Corey is one of those people. And I think that we should be proud of his accomplishment. And he always remembers he's in Fall River. He comes back in the summer when there's an academic break, and he goes to the Boys Club, and he actually does do some personal fitness training down at the Cape. And he comes from a line of people who showed that Fall River has good people. His father served as a naval officer in World War II, was a very well-respected educator in the Fall River public school system. His mother ran a dress shop that was pretty famous in the downtown Fall River, Milady's. And it just goes to prove that we do have people in Fall River who don't show up on the local news because they're being tried for murder or some other crime. Fall River does have quality people, and once in a while it's nice to remember that and recognize that. So, I look forward to seeing Peter this summer. Hopefully we can get him on the show and talk to him about growing up in Fall River. And, of course, his journey to where he is, and of course, being a trainer for a world champion in probably the biggest championship in the world, the most highly recognized championship in the world, the heavyweight championship of the world. So with that, that's great. So kudos to Peter, and I will segue in because I guess there's a little. The control room is busy at the moment, so I'm going to talk. We're going to go from there into state politics. Last show I talked about the pay raises, and we see what's happening in Fall River, and we can draw a parallel. We see these jobs being added, and people are concerned not only about where the people live, but the fact that jobs are being added, and when we are in dire financial straits. And as I said before, maybe these jobs are necessary, but they have to go alongside of the, some kind of cuts and some kind of reorganization. So on the last show, I talked about the 23% pay raise that all Massachusetts sheriffs received, and also all the judges in Massachusetts received 23%. Now think about that. That's almost a quarter of your pay, and it's, that's a lot. And the legislators, district attorneys, got a 15% pay raise. The State House state representatives put aside 1.6 million in raises, were announced with other monies. So, you know, that's a lot of money, and then we wonder why we continually are asked to pay more taxes. And then there's the other side of that coin. What do we get for this? We seem to have people that are making a lot of money, and they don't have a problem with escalating taxes and things. We have the other side. And this article from the Boston Broadside talks about EBT cards. I just want to run this by everybody, and you can send your opinions in to us on our email or on our phone in. Apparently, the EBT, the National Department of the Massachusetts Department of Transitional Assistance, and they're saying they want to bridge the gap to stability for its clients, have said that it is now okay to use your EBT card to get into all the major museums and science.
You had to.
Okay, the Museum of Science. Now, they're saying that they're either going to get in for free or pay $1 to $3 per person, and bring along friends who don't even have to be members of their family. Now, you know, I'm a big proponent of education, and if you want to say that they can go to these museums once or twice a year and get a reduced rate, use their EBT card, and get their children in, I think that's great. I think exposing them to that is wonderful. However, when they can bring in people that are not in the family, and they can have unlimited visits for up to 4 people anytime, where a working person like you or I has to pay $23 for one day, so a family of 4 would be paying $92 for his family to get into that same thing. You know, I don't mind giving people a helping hand, but I think this is ridiculous. I don't know about you, but I think this is just incredible. The fact that this is how they waste our money, and how are we going to do it? Are we going to have a new black market? Are they going to be standing outside the Museum of Science telling people, hey, instead of paying $92, give me $40 or $50, and I'll get you in with my EBT card? You know, I mean, this is just ridiculous, and this is what we're up against every single day. The rich get richer, and the poor get more, and the people who work for a living get crapped on.
Well,
and I'm upset about it.
That's the usual for us, Chip. You know that. And I'm sorry that I kind of went dead there for a little bit. The control room was invaded, and I couldn't get to the mics fast enough to shut it down and get the cameras off of people. But that's another story. You know, obviously we are not a well-liked group of people about our show, but that's okay. But no, you're right. I mean, and this is the type of stuff that goes on every day here in this state. And you know, I was never a huge proponent for term limits, but I'm slowly, and I shouldn't say slowly, I'm rapidly moving towards a term limit proposal for the state, because you know, it seems that no matter what we do, we don't change. And we're seeing that at the local level here in Fall River. We're seeing that at the state level, because these people have made politics a lifelong career. And it never was supposed to be a lifelong career. It was supposed to be, you go into the House, you serve 2 years, you come out of the House, and somebody else goes in so that the everyday man can be represented. You go into the Senate, that was meant for the big shots, the money people, the business people. And they stayed there for a while. But you look at our House and our Senate here in Massachusetts, which, by the way, our U.S. House and Senate are pretty much based on the same format. And 30 years, not a problem. And then when you're done, you go get a $120,000 a year job and show up 4 times a year at a community college. The political meshing and the political incestuous behavior is such that we can't get out of our own way, because we can't seem to fight this system. And the stories you brought up and the stories you were talking about and the ones you kept quoting and going over and over just clearly show on a regular basis that, major change is needed in the political system in Massachusetts and in the United States. A comment had been made by a local radio host who said that he believes the two-party political system's falling apart, that it's not going to have any strength anymore, that not necessarily a third party, but the people are just saying, being a Democrat and a Republican isn't important anymore. It's what they're doing. And you and I have believed that for a long time. I used to be a partisan person. I used to be very partisan. You never have been, to the best of my knowledge. And we have to say, what is going to happen with this? What is truly going to happen with this?
Yeah, this is a very, good topic to be in. I know that, some people, they just keep their head down and say, okay, let me go to work every day. But, you have to be, when you see things like this, if they don't enrage you, I don't know, what will get you upset. Especially if you're a guy who goes to work every day, has to pay his bills, and you see these people just abusing the system, and they continue to raise our taxes. And they say, well, we're in a deficit. Yet government has become this giant vacuum cleaner, and they continue to create these. Well, I mean, if we're that broke, if we're short, does your boss tell you when he's not making as much money that you're going to get a 23% raise? Does your boss give people down the street giant donations, and let them get into all these things for free, or almost free, while we have to pay? We're in the middle. They've eliminated. There's no middle class as far as a two-party system. I was never in favor of term limits. My attitude years ago was, you get what you deserve. If you don't want to vote these idiots out, you get the government you deserve. But the problem is, I've come to realize that when you have that attitude, you're not realizing that you're being victimized by this system. This system allows these people to stay in forever. And I don't care if you think you're a conservative or a liberal, and liberals blame the conservatives, and the conservatives blame the liberals. That's crap. Conservatives, everybody's a conservative about what they've got, liberal about what they want, and moderate about what they don't give two craps about. And the fact is that these parties use this as a diversionary tactic. Because the fact is, Republicans, Democrats, they're not going to fix health care. They'll never fix health care in this country. They get money from the health care system. But they have their own health care system. They have the greatest health care system in the United States, Congress. What impetus do they have to fix the problem? It doesn't affect them. You think they care? They're making millions of dollars in campaign contributions from healthcare lobbyists and pharmaceutical companies. And you think they have any, for the poor folk down here who now have to pay, $500 instead of $15 for a prescription? They don't care. Hey, suck it up. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. All the other buzzwords, they don't care. What they're creating is a privileged lower class.
Actually,
and a privileged upper class. And the people in the middle, us, the people who have to work for a living, we're just like, hey, you donkeys just keep going to work and paying our bills for us, because, we're going to blame each other, have gridlock, and put labels on things, but we're never going to fix anything, because we don't need to fix our health care because we got it. We don't have to worry about taxes because we give ourselves giant pay raises, and we basically don't care about you people. We're living large. We are the nobility of the United States. And you know something? The time has come for a revolt. People have to wake up. People have to vote these people out, or we have to have term limits.
Well, the biggest problem, Chip, is, when this country was founded, they wanted to make George Washington king. He refused to be king. He refused that position, so they made him president. But our Senate and our House have indeed created our own form of royalty. As a matter of fact, even our media used to turn around and call, the Kennedy family. It was, it was our closest thing to royalty. It was a dynasty. It was, everything it was. And, we have to stop that. We have to stop that. Being a politician is not a job. Being an elected official is not a career. It is service. It is service to your country. Maybe if they were required to live on the salaries that the average American had to live on, maybe if they had the benefits and the health care that the average American had and lived on, maybe they would think twice before they turned around and said, we can't do that.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I'd like to see everybody in Congress who continues to do this and has a total disregard for the people. You wish you could sentence them to a 1 or 2 year term living on 4th and Wade on a salary, on a Fall River salary, and trying to pay and the same medical care that these people are scrounging to get, minimal medical care, and try to be a working man. Not a person who's getting free health care because they're too poor and free admissions to the museums. I'm talking about being working poor. And that's what Fall River has a lot of, the working poor. And I'd like to sentence them to a year or 2, living in a 3-decker, and having crappy health care, having to figure out how they're going to pay for enough food, get presents for their kids at Christmas, worry about their job, worrying about being the last person hired and the first person fired, and see what would happen. It's not a fairy tale, it's a reality. And the fact is that, the people of this country are not being represented well. Congress are nobles. They, if you get appointed or elected to Congress, if you walk in the door and sit in the seat for one day, you got a pension for the rest of your life. Many people don't realize that they don't even have to abide by the laws of our nation. They have their own set of laws. So in essence, they are a separate world, a country within itself. It is a monarchy. And people who believe the United States is a republic, a representative form of government, I don't know who the hell they're representing, but it's not me.
Well, that's for sure. And, we see that every day. When I approach a member of Congress and ask him about a specific issue that I've been told numerous times has been addressed to him or her, and they turn around and say, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have to say, so either your head is in the sand or our elected representatives at the state and local level are lying to us. And we're at the point now where no matter what is said, who says it, whether it be you or I, whether it be politicians, whether it be sports celebrities, movie stars, whoever it may be, everyone's a liar. Lie seems to be the new world order. But you know what? I still believe in our Constitution. I still believe the way the Constitution was set up. And I believe that those rights are inalienable. And we as a republic, we as the people who vote those people in, need to make it perfectly clear to every elected official, if you don't do what you need to do and what we want you to do, not what's going to line your pocket, not what's going to get you reelected, we're going to get rid of you.
Well, hopefully we can, because obviously, it's broke. Whether it'll take a third party, a revolution or what, people are just, a lot of them are fed up. But the problem we have is we have a real issue here. We're beginning to see an influx of illegal aliens, and they're going to give them a pathway, then they're going to get citizenship, then they're going to be a voting bloc, and then what happens to the politicians? They curry favor with any major voting group. And the problem with that is that they're not working in the best interest of our nation. And, you know, the next show, I'm going to bring a speech that was given by Theodore Roosevelt a very long time ago. And it's probably, in today's society, a very politically incorrect speech. But I truly believe it is 100% accurate. And it's a 3 or 4 minute, 5-minute speech, and I'll read the entirety, but I'll give you a synopsis. What he basically said was, some of the greatest Americans he ever met were naturalized Americans. They weren't born in this nation. However, there's no such thing as a hyphenated American.
Well, you know,
There's no such thing as a Polish American or an Italian American or a Mexican American. You're either an American or you're not an American. And that's one of the problems I see in this country. It's, you know, we know everybody loves to be hyphenated. And, and the problem is that if you love America, you can recognize and honor your ethnicity, you know, where you came from. But if you become a citizen of this nation, this is the nation that you should love. This is the nation that you should be. You should be an American.
well, in Fall River, that's not going to go over too well because a lot of people consider themselves Luso-Americans. But, you know, I agree with you. And
It's just my opinion.
I know. And, you know, that not a problem with that. For our viewing audience, I want to give them a little bit of a heads up. We do have some construction going on here in the bunker. So if I'm being dragged away view-wise, that's why. Please don't think I'm not paying attention to you. But we're, you know, in construction around here, which is great. But, you know, even in our city, we're divided, and we divide ourselves even further. And you're right. If you're an American, you're an American. You're not, you know, this American or that American, you're an American. And that is something to be proud of. Your ethnicity and your heritage, yes, you can be proud of that. I mean, we all are. You know, we look at where we came from. Otherwise, genealogy would be a dying business in the United States. But, you know, how does that affect us today? I'll tell you how it affects us today, because that's history. And Chip, what is the one quote we always remember and we try to keep telling people about all the time about history?
Yeah.
Those who do not learn from history are destined to repeat it. And it seems that is the motto of Fall River and most of this country.
Yeah, and there's another one about history. I believe it was Jefferson. It was either Jefferson or Thomas Paine, and it says, "I have but one lamp to light my path, and that is the lamp of experience." So, you know, if we don't learn, you know, we are, and this ethnic diversity is, you know, we've gotten away from being Americans, and I refer back to that article. There was $2 billion, the amount spent on illegal aliens this year in Massachusetts. So, you know, the fact is that, you know, we're spending billions of dollars on people who aren't even citizens. So, you know, while who suffers that? Who pays those billions? We do. So it's time to wake up, and it's time to, as I said, I have the greatest respect. Our Constitution is great. Our Declaration of Independence says it all. But the problem is when we ignore those things and we ignore the fact that, you know, we fought a revolution to become Americans. We shouldn't be going in the opposite direction.
I hear you there, Chip. For Program Nope, Sons of Liberty is on this weekend, Sunday. It's a 3-day miniseries on the History Channel. Watch how your country got started and watch where we should be going today. Thanks for watching Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ.
And I'm Chip.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.